Hello there guys, and welcome back to our car modeling tutorial. And in this episode what we're going to do is going to run down the diffuser at the back here. Last episode we got all of this nailed, so this is all looking pretty nice. We've also got the roof done, which also looks pretty good. We did this little bit of trim. We will need to edit that later on, but that's looking nice as well. It's just got some basic loops in. So maybe let's go and just have a go at working through our diffuser here. So the hardest thing we're going to need to do is we do need to fill the gap that's inside here, because this does all run across, and then we've got that exhaust that kind of is cut out in the center. So it's going to be a little bit awkward, because obviously if we count all the edges around here, they're all going to be different. So we're not going to be able to just simply bridge across, potentially. We don't want to offset too much of the geometry, because we want it to sit nicely inside here too. And then obviously we've got these little fins that pop out, which are going to be tricky as well. So let's do our usual. We'll start with some extrusions. Actually, before we do the extrusions, let's have a go at building the center area here. So maybe what we could do is let's just grab all the associated edges. I'm going to hit Control E, and let's just kind of pull them in on the blue here. We've got a few ways that we can kind of put this together. Maybe not that, maybe that's going to be a bit tricky. Let's maybe go for some bridges. So let's start bridging these across. Not bevel. I'm going to go to Edit Mesh and we'll bridge. We'll start down here as well. Okay. So we can see in doing so, we're not actually going to be that bad. In doing this, we're only going to need maybe one more line, so let's just drop that in over here. Obviously it's not going to look the cleanest, the way that the vertices are, but at least we know it's going to be flowing nicely up here. So let's maybe have a go at editing some of this. Obviously we need a couple more lines in here as well. I'm going to add my edge transform. And I'm just going to pull these ever so slightly so that they're just reflecting going to match up a little bit nicer with the corresponding vertices. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's go and insert some edge loops. So we'll drop one here and we'll drop one here, and then that should allow us to, we'll go Edit Mesh and we'll bridge, and bridge. Okay, so that's looking okay. If we hit smooth on here just to see, that's going to smooth out quite nicely, so that's okay. So what we're going to want to do then is we're going to want to think about how we're going to cut out the area for the exhaust here. So what we could do is we could do something similar to the parking sensors. Let's maybe bring in a cylinder. Let's bring this up and let's just turn that off. So let's bring this roughly into position. Let's say 90 degrees on the rotation on the X, and then let's move this over here. So let's use our rear view to position this, so we can see it's a bit of an oval. So something like that. That's how it's going to look. Okay. So before I do that, before we get it into shape, let's have a go here. Let's just reduce the radius down. Maybe something like that. Maybe 0.46. Let's go one more, maybe 0.47. So we're going to want to think about the existing geometry that we actually have here. So we have all these lines coming in. So let's maybe reduce this down to, let's try 10. Okay, so 10 might be okay. So let's maybe think about then of squishing this down. Something like that. Let's have a think about rotating this around. Something like that. probably not going to work if we was to adjust these now. Okay, no, that's okay. Could maybe go for 8 actually, so let's maybe go for 8 inside there. Okay, so that's looking quite good. And then I'm just going to bring this in. Okay, so what we're going to want to do then is let's think about how we're going to kind of cut through this. So we've got this line here. A lot of these can kind of line up fairly nicely. Let's maybe squish that just a little bit. I'm going to squish it just a little bit more, just so it fits between these. Okay, something like that. Let's go then and see what we can do in terms of these excess central faces there. Let's get rid of those. Let's maybe get rid of all the ones that kind of intersect here. Let's see here, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Maybe it would be better if we match that as we go around. It's just because of the distance in between, it might make it a little bit awkward. Okay, let's grab all of these. I'm going to hit Control E. I'm just going to pull in on the blue. Doesn't really matter. Actually, no, we're going to need to dial that back. Because what we are going to need to do is we are going to need to do what we did with the parking sensors, and we're going to want to pull these vertices back so that they're sitting almost flush with the existing geometry. Now I know that some of you guys in the comments are going to be like, oh, just use a Boolean. But if we're going to be smoothing, Booleans just aren't really reliable enough. Because we could make a perfect Boolean, make it look nice, do a little bit of cleanup afterwards, and then as soon as we hit smooth, it's just going to all go jagged and weird. So I don't really want to worry too much about that, so we'll just take a little bit more time and we'll bring this in ourselves. So something like that. Okay, so let's grab these faces all around here. I'm going to hit delete. We're going to do exactly what we did with the parking sensors and we'll bring these in. Now let's think about where we're going to locate these. So I'm going to hold down V, we'll go over there, we'll go down here, or maybe go over there as well with that. Maybe do the same, do something like that. Merge those ones. I'm just trying to think about how we can plot these the best, that we're not going to be doing too much damage to our shape. Let's think, maybe I could go there. Okay, so bring all those around, something like that. So it's not looking too tidy just now, but we could reroute some of these should we wish to. Let's just hit 3 on there. We see even though the mesh isn't tidy, it's still looking nice and smooth for the most part, so that's fine. So we don't really need this now. We don't need to do exactly what we did with the parking sensors because we have the gap that we need. So we're going to hit Control E and we'll pull this in. I'm going to pull this in quite far and then we can just straighten that off. And then let's have a go at just cleaning up in here just a little bit. let's go and add our edge slice. So I'm just going to want to make a little bit more space in between some of these things. Some of these vertices here. Pull these ones down. Okay, let's grab all of the edges around here, and hopefully this should work. Let's go for a edit mesh, and let's go for a bevel. So that's worked nicely. I'm going to reduce the fraction down. Maybe something like that. Maybe go 0.5, go back to default, and 2 segments. Okay, we'll hit 3. We can see that we've got a nice little cutout inside there now, which is looking good. And then obviously, even though it was quite a low poly shape that we brought in, we can see that's looking pretty good. So let's have a go now at strengthening the rest of the area. Okay, so we can see dropping those edges in there hasn't really done anything to hurt. The only real issue we've got down here is a little bit of a crease. So again, I'm just going to make a little bit more space and maybe go a little bit closer. Something like that. Okay. That's looking nice. Before we add anything else though, I'm going to grab these top edges. I'm not going to worry about the bottom ones. We'll just grab these top ones. I'm going to go all the way around here. And down here I'm going to hit Control E. And I'm just going to pull those in on the blue. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's go and add one at the top here. And all the way over here. Okay. So again, let's hit 3. So we see that's flowing super nice now. We've got our hole for the exhaust. We've got all of this portion here, which is looking good. I think what we do want to do is I want an edge to run around there. So you can see that that's going to peel off there quite nicely. So all of that's looking really good. I think we do want to have a loop that runs down here. We do want that to maintain. Okay. We'll tighten up that edge with just a loop across the top. Those fins are actually looking quite nice as they are without any kind of major geometry, so I think we'll probably just leave those as is. They're looking quite nice, and maybe the last thing we'll do with this then is we'll insert a loop up here. Okay, let's bring in the rest of the car so we can see that's looking super nice as we go along there, which is good. And then what we've got in between here is we've just got ourselves a little bit of a mesh that runs down. Now we do have a little bit of an issue here, we can see. Because of the addition of the geometry for this, we actually have a little bit of a gap. So what I'm going to do is, whilst this is smoothed, let's have a go and see what we can do about just closing up this gap. Something like that. What it actually looks like is the gap. I'll just undo that. It's actually this way. I'm just going to pull all of these along a little bit. Okay. I'm going to do this in smooth mode again because we don't really care how it looks in poly mode, because we will be smoothing it after as well. So that's looking really nice. That's all intersecting in there quite nicely too. So it's looking there that we've got the majority of the body done, which is good. The actual body panel's done, which is nice. We do have obviously the rear tail lights. We have a big vent that goes in the back. Kind of see the exhaust pipes through, which might be quite cool. So we could do a few things now. We've got a little bit of time left inside this tutorial. Let's go and have a think about, maybe we could have a think about the door handle. Just having a look around the rest of the body just to make sure it's looking good. We could think about the door handle, or we could have a go at the vents here. I'm just having a look on my reference images just to see what we would need to do for the handle and such. Okay, so the handle doesn't look too difficult. The only problem with the handle is that we don't want to add too much information in and then lose the kind of shape that we have, because obviously we want to still fit inside the door, so we don't want to add too many cross lines and large lines inside here, which could affect in there. I've got a super large image here, which should help. Okay, let's maybe have a go at this handle then. So I already had a couple of edges inside there. We're going to get rid of those. Let's maybe remove the smooth. So if you remember before, we had like a little kind of crease that appeared inside here, and that's because the lines went from this portion to this corner, and I switched those up to go up and down, and then of course I added extra lines inside there to match as well. That allowed me then to drop in these edges at the top. Now I had to do this somewhat separately because I didn't want the lines to run too close, because we had to run a line here which cut inside there, and then obviously the same at the bottom as well. So let's have a go at the handle here. We will obviously need to try and reflect those same edges the best we can. We may also edit them somewhat, because I'm just having a look here and it seems that the corners might not be quite so severe as what we have, but we'll have a go and we'll see. So let's go and grab inside here. I'm going to grab the face, I'm going to hit Control E. I'm going to extrude this in, because we're going to have a go at creating the kind of gap that it has. It looks like it's something like that. I'm going to jump on the vertices here. I'm going to go edge slide, because we don't want to be ruining this too much, and we want to bring this a lot closer over here, and we want to do the same over here. And this bit, let's take that up. We want that gap to be about the same all the way across, and then this one here, we're obviously going to want to take this down. So I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to hit Control E again. I'm going to take this in a little bit more, and we're also going to go in on the blue, something like that. And again, I want to grab these here. We're going to make sure we're in edge mode. Okay. We want these ones to be a bit lower. goes there. Maybe these go a bit further in this direction. Okay, and then we're going to grab this face one last time. We're going to hit Control E, and we're just going to take that in. Something like that. Okay, so let's hit 3 and 3, and we can see that that is obviously not looking how it should, which is okay just now. So, firstly, let's think about the intersection here. So I'm going to drop some vertices all around this kind of outside bit, because we want these areas inside here to be nice and harsh. Okay, so we can start to see what's going on. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I'm going to delete one of those, the one on the outside maybe. We'll keep the one on the inside. Okay, that's a little bit better. And we'll maybe add in afterwards. Let's think here. Let's go for an edge loop on here. Let's maybe drop about there, and then the same here. Okay, so we can see that interior portion there is looking really good now, but we can see that our corners aren't lining up too nicely. So in terms of getting these to line up a little bit better, then let's bring in our bits here. So we want this to be essentially a little bit closer up there. I'm maybe just going to delete all those edges for now, just to make it easier for us to shuffle these things about. And we'll pull this up, and we'll pull this down. Now what's awkward is these are obviously on the wrong sides, but it shouldn't affect us too much as long as we're still kind of the same distance. So let's bring those a little bit closer as well. What we could also do is we could drop a loop nice and close to the edge there. And then we can bring this back in. I'm going to hit Control E. And we'll go in on the blue. Give that a refresh. Hit 3. And hit 3. Okay, so we can see that's looking quite nice. Let's get rid of the wireframe. You can see that's sitting in there quite nicely. It does look like our gaps are way off though. It doesn't look like the handle should be as far as it is away over here. So let's maybe just have a go. Let's have a go, just bring in this whole thing a little bit closer. Okay. We actually seem to make this gap almost as large as the panel gaps, the general panel gaps that we had. Okay, so that's looking a lot better there. Let's maybe go and add a loop on the outside here. Okay, so that's looking a lot better still. And again, just as part of the smooth, I'm just going to use the smooth view here just to kind of fine tune this a little bit. that's looking good. Okay. I think I'm gonna drop one more edge loop in here. Just to help define that outer portion a little bit more. So that's looking quite nice. So let's maybe go and drop in our colour to that. So you can see when that's merged in with the body, that's looking quite nice. Okay. Let's see if we can quickly just duplicate special. That's good. Okay, so that's looking nice. The handle's sitting in there. Okay, once we've got the contrast of shadows and things, should look good, but that's looking pretty good. We do have a little bit more detail here. I'm not going to be too fussed about adding that in, so I'm just going to leave that as is for that. And what I will say is, in between episodes, what I did do was I did go around and refine this whole wheel arch here, just so it feels a little bit better. I did it at the front as well, just to get nice and close. So once the real tie is in there, obviously it's not going to be visible. I think what we'll do then, probably going forward, is let's maybe think about getting the glass in. We could maybe start with the windshield just now. So let's just bring in a new plane. We also have, before we do that actually, we do have a little bit of a cowling down here which we'll add. So maybe we'll do that just now real quick. I'm going to reduce the amount of subdivisions on here. Now you can't really see it from too many reference images, but I did manage to get a look. So it's kind of where the window wipers would sit. So we'll go underneath the hood here, and then we can see that we've got this line that goes along there. So that's what we're going to try and follow. And what we're going to do to make this easy is we're going to try and maintain the same geometry of what we have on the window above here. So we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 going across. So we're going to try and have 5 faces ourselves. So let's go, we've got one already. But let's just make this a little bit wider. So we have our first. I'm going to go hit Control E, and that's 2. And I'm just going to try and stay the same up here. Hit Control E for 3, Control E again for 4, and then one last time here for 5. I'll bring that over there. Okay, and then we'll take this down, and it's just going to sit underneath here, about there, because you can barely see the window wipers on this car, the windscreen wipers. You just see them coming up over the bonnet line here, so they are sitting nice and deep inside here. So let's maybe bring that down, something like that. We don't want this to be completely flat, so let's maybe grab all of these and let's just add a little bit of an arch to this, something like that. Okay, and we want this here on this side, we want this to really meet up with what we have here. So let's maybe take the smooth off here. I'm going to just snap to that point, and then I'll just take one more extrusion just to kind of fill in any gaps or holes that we don't want to see. And then just like anything else, we're going to hit Control E on this. I'm going to pull this down. Let's insert an edge loop around here. Let's drop a loop over here. Something like that. And then we've just got like a nice smooth little piece of cowling to go in there. We're just going to paint that in the same as like what we would for our rubber or general plastics. Oops, that's the hood. Like so. And then essentially what we'll do is we'll grab a plane, and then we'll bring all of these portions down here just to match there. Maybe we could quickly start it just now, just before we finish up for today. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this is, let's just make sure everything's non-smooth. We're going to want to bring this in and up to this rubber portion. We're going to bring this up to the furthest one here, which looks good. I'm going to snap to the very bottom edge of that, and then our new cowl that we just created, I'm going to snap to the lower portion of that too. Okay, and then we're just going to add some edge loops in. So we'll go one inside here, just to try and meet all of the different points. And let's go up here, holding V just to snap in here and here. We'll quickly run along here as well. Okay. Does look like we have a line here that we don't need. Don't know if this is actually, yeah, so that was actually smoothed. So let's just go back here, because I had the extra smoothing. Let's just go back and just make sure this is going to run around the correct spot. So that's looking good. And then let's go for insert edge loops, and we're going to want to drop edge loops in the same area over here as what we already have going horizontal. I just want to make sure that in our side view that we're going to be maintaining the correct curvature. We're just going to do that in stages. Okay, and do the same over here for this line as well. And then we have one more at the top, which will drop over here. And then finally, let's just quickly run snap to the corresponding vertices over here on our rubber trim. Okay, that's looking good. And then the last thing we'll really do with this is we just kind of want to fine tune some things. So I'm going to quickly jump on here. I'm going to make sure that it's edge sliding. And we just want to make sure that we've got nice curvature on here, because obviously this is going to be showing some deep reflections when we have lighting and environments and such, so we don't want this to be as smooth as possible. Okay, and then over here. So that's looking okay. Let's go and I'm just going to hit Control D and Control G on here just for now. Chuck that across. And then what I like to do as well is I do like to create a material, and let's go for a new blend, make it dark and transparent, and then we can drop that on there. Okay, and then we've got our cowling too, which I'll swap over. So we're starting to get some glass in there, so the car's starting to really look good. We can see that's looking quite nice as it sits inside there. So what we'll do then, guys, in the next episode is we'll maybe do the glass on the side here, and then we'll start to think about maybe the vents at the back. We'll get those nailed, and then once we've got the vents in place on the back, just like we did at the front, just kind of on the sides for that, once we've got those in and all the glass in place, we'll maybe start to think about then adding in all the different vents, all the different information. We'll maybe finish on the lights. They take quite some time, so maybe there'll be slightly longer episodes as well. And then of course we've got the wheels to do, so we've still got quite a ways to go even though the body's done. But if you enjoyed this video, guys, please hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you in the next one.